Welcome to this week's edition of Mainly Motorsports, and a familiar face that we had on the show last week talking about grip seminar, and he was so youthful and vibrant and everything he wanted to, everything that he learned, everything he can bring to their race program. This week, Bob, I want to talk to you about, I don't want to show you age, but we want to talk about the Hall of Fame induction that's coming up. We talked about it last week with Scott Connor, and last year you were fortunate enough to be inducted into the Maine Motorsports Hall of Fame. And
exactly.
You know, right from the phone call, when you got the phone call that said you were going to be in the class of 2014, what did that mean to you?
I was totally in awe. Unexpected, out of the blue. Unbeknownst to me, my son had been working for several months compiling information to give to the committee, the selection committee, and there were 30 candidates that they looked at. And so we were able to document my racing career to their satisfaction, that yes, he did have this many wins, and he did travel to all these tracks and to do what you do. And you don't realize at the time that I'm compiling all this data. You just go week to week, year to year, and then at the end of your career, it's wow, you know, it adds up.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I was very appreciative, totally unexpected. I never would have dreamed that I'd be recognized in that manner. So.
Yeah, no, that's a big deal. And then, you know, it was the first year where they moved the ceremony down to the main auditorium. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I think they increased, you know, attendance by, you know, 60, 70 people. So, you know, it was a pretty packed house. And,
exactly.
You know, some of the other names, you know, was it Chink Maynard that you
Chink
raced
Maynard
with?
From Maine, that I raced with back in the 70s and 80s in Aroostook. And then when I moved south and started racing at Speedway 95 and Oxford and Unity, then that helped me too bump my numbers up. But one of the factors was that each year they were going through like the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s.
Yeah.
Well, I raced in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And so therefore I fell into that criteria as a candidate that they would look at. So.
Yeah, no, and you were, and you know, I was fortunate enough to be there, and you know, and the thing I take away from this, and you know, every family that races, and you know, there's a lot of them, and you know, I remember sitting there and thinking to myself that, you know, your grandson, who now you play a huge part in his racing operation, you know, working on the car, being his support system there every week, traveling to no matter where they've gone with the go-karts to, you know, where they are now, you know, gets to sit in the audience, and to me, watch his grandfather, you know, get the biggest honor and the biggest reward of his racing career. That I remember just sitting there thinking that, and how cool that's got to be for not only you as to accepting it, but Wyatt sitting there and watching it take place.
Exactly. That, and we've always raced as a family, and that was huge for us. Even when I started racing, it was a family deal. When Brett was old enough to walk, he was in the shop, around the cars, working with adults, going to the racetrack, and that awareness of how to conduct yourself at the track, how to look out for traffic in the pits and things like
this.
this.
The things that we all take for granted, that, you know, next thing you know,
right.
Somebody's laying under a race car, you know, and you know, the induction ceremony's coming up here April 4th, and you know, we got a class going in this year, and I remember last year, you know, I took Sandy McKinnon, and he'd never been, you know, I had to argue with him to take him. And you know, as soon as he walked in and people come over and see him and, you know, recognize him and how you been, and you know, we're talking on the way up. You know, here's a guy that's owned race cars that has 5 or 6 of his former drivers in that Hall of Fame. So what's that say about him? And lo and behold, he's on the list this year that's going to be going in.
Right.
And pretty excited, you know.
Right. And to be recognized with that group of people that I looked at, Mike Rose and people like that, as I was coming up the lines, you know, racing with Ralph Nason and Jimmy Burns. Jimmy Burns was there last year, and people like that. I had my first ride in a race car with Ralph Nason up at Spud Speedway. Ralph was the manager at the time, and he says, come here, let me show you how to get around this track. So Ralph's driving, and I'm sitting on the floor hanging onto the roll bars while Ralph is throwing this 56 Ford into the corners. And safety, what safety?
Yeah, no, exactly.
And but you learn the line, and that sticks with you. And
yep.
Ralph and I have been friends for years. And
no, it's such a huge thing. And yeah, and you know, to think that, you know, you're still going, you know, you're still involved in the sport, and that's the thing I always like to see, and I talk about it all the time. You know, it's one thing to come into the sport and make your mark, you know, win your races, win your championships, get you all your acknowledgments, all your awards. What impresses me was when the people don't walk away from it. You know, they find their niche after, and, you know, whether it's crew chief and their grandsons, or, you know, I remember when I first met you down at Racers Expo. You know, you were there with UNH, you were involved with the school, and you were trying to encourage kids to buy into the program and go there, you know. So you were using your involvement in motorsports to work for a motorsports related, you know, college,
Careers,
you know.
I've always believed in paying it forward. You know, I had people that helped me when I started. I was always willing to help other racers. My theory was I'd rather have someone beat me fair and square rather than have a car that didn't handle well and take me out of a race because of that. So I've always been very proactive in helping up-and-coming racers. Andy Santerre, when Andy started racing at Bangor, I was just getting out, so I loaned some of my equipment to Andy, for my pit equipment, so he could race.
Yep.
Things like that. And you never know where those people are going to go. Ivan Caffel, look at, started out, he had a Legends car at the shop last year, and I said, let me do a setup in that Legends car for you. So we ended up that night at Star Speedway. Wyatt got first and Ivan got third that night. And,
yeah, no, some of that stuff, that's the rewarding stuff. You know,
exactly.
when you've helped somebody else, you know, that's the stuff that, yeah, I think really matters, whether it's on the racetrack or in life. You know, when you don't ask anything in return, you know, and that's the nice part. And, you know, I know when we met the Alexander family a few years back, and, you know, they were go-kart racing the same time we were go-kart racing, but you guys were running nationals. But, you know, but when you guys pulled in to run a race at Richmond or wherever it was, I mean, a very tight-knit group, and you can see it. You said it's family, and that you can see it, you know. And I know that's some of the decisions that you make when you go racing now with Wyatt, is you want, you know, Jen and Quinn, you know, to be able to be a part of it. You know, even though Quinn, you know, in her mind she might know what's going on, but nobody knows what's going on in her little mind. But still, you feel like she's a part of it. You know, she gets to be a part of it all. Definitely.
We were at Wiscasset last year, and she'd watched us measure stagger in the cars and write the sizes on. So here she is with a tape measure and a white marker. She's at measuring the tires, and a year old, and here she is walking around.
Yeah, she's paying attention to what you guys do.
They don't miss much.
Yeah, so no, exactly. And yeah, so the Hall of Fame, you got to stand up there, you got to give that speech, you got to look out in the crowd of your peers, of your family. I mean, that's got to be, you know, that's just got to send chills. Because I know I stood up there at one point and talked to, you know, for Mike Rowe, and to look out in that audience and the wins and the history and all that is amazing, you know.
It is, and to look at the, like I say, the quality of the racers that make it to that point, and there's a very involved selection process they go through, documenting those wins and finishes in order to, many racers that won a lot of races in the early days had no documentation. There's no track records. Either the track had closed or nobody kept records. And fortunately, when I started racing, the track was very proactive in putting out that information to the newspapers. So every week there'd be an article about Spud Speedway or Unity or 95 and who finished where and so forth. So they were able to go back into the archives and document what we had done. And so, yeah, that was huge.
Yeah. Now this year, are you going to the banquet?
I will be. I'll be there.
So now,
bells on.
When they honor all the Hall of Fame members that are in that room, and you get to stand up and you look around, I mean, that's another moment that I want you to stop. and this is the young guy telling the older fella what he wants him to do. But I want you to stop, and I want you to look, and I want you to pat yourself on the back. Wow. Because that's you earned it, and you deserve that honor for everything you've done on the track and now continue to do off the track, Bob.
Well, thank you very much. Like I say, it was an honor, definitely an honor, unexpected honor, and to have the ability to be recognized at that level is huge.
All right. Well, that's Bob Alexander, a 2014 inductee into the Maine Motorsports Hall of Fame. We're going to take a break. We come back. We're going to show you Bob's speech from last year's Hall of Fame induction.
You don't have to wait until the end of camping season to get your best price. Hi, I'm Scott from Scott's Recreation. We're starting our end of season sale now. This is our biggest selection ever. Fifth wheels with savings up to $20,000. Big selection of toy haulers starting at only $19,999. 2015 Trail Runner bunkhouses with super slides and island kitchens for only $199 per month. Motorhomes, truck campers, and more. Financing available. Trades welcome.
Scott's Recreation, Turner and Manchester, Maine. Don't let the other guys rough you up. Shop online at otmotorsales.com.
Clark's Eastside Scrap and Westside Scrap, two of the region's most efficient scrap yards. Both locations have the latest and greatest equipment, along with large capacity scales that are constantly calibrated to ensure honest weights. Car crushing, roll-off containers, scrap metal. Clark's Eastside Scrap in Chelsea and Clark's Westside Scrap in Farmingdale. Don't fix it, scrap it.
Mainly Motorsports TV, brought to you by
Moody's Collision Centers, now with 7 convenient locations: Gorham, Scarborough, Biddeford, Portland, Sanford, Lewiston, and now South Portland. Visit us at moodyscollision.com.
Southern Maine Motors, out to be Maine's #1 Chrysler Dodge Jeep dealership, Route 1 Saco.
Here to bring our first Hall of Famer to the stage tonight, from the tip of the state, is one half of a husband-wife presenting team this evening. From Aroostook County, Caribou, Maine, welcome forward Lorraine Chamberlain and husband Joe.
Thank you, Andy. First of all, Joe and I would like to say thank you. It's an honor for us to be able to present the first nominee and inductee for tonight's ceremony. And that is Robert Bobby Alexander. So Bobby, we want to recognize you as the first inductee to the Maine Motorsports Hall of Fame 2014 class. Welcome, Bob Alexander.
So they asked me tonight, do you have your speech prepared? Speech? What speech? I tend to talk right off the cuff, but I got a call I think it was November, from Joe with the news that I'd been inducted into the Hall of Fame, and prior to that, I had no clue. Thanks to my brother John and my son Brett, they had collaborated behind my back to get all this information to Joe, and unbeknownst to me, I was selected. It is truly an honor to be included with this group of people from the past, from the current class of 2014, people I've raced with Dave Darbo, Mike Rowe, those guys, Jimmy Burns, we've run it, Vanguard, Unity, so it is, I was just flabbergasted to find out that I was included. I had no clue that I would ever be recognized at that level. Again, I've never won a championship. I was either go for the win or wreck, that type of thing. And so we did wreck, but it was all about the wins, and winning gets to be addictive. I think you get that adrenaline in your system, and you just you go for that. And so many times you see people that struggle. They come in 3rd, 4th, 5th. They've never got that first win, but once they get that first win, now they're there. I watched Chase Elliott last night. I mean, what a race. Anybody happened to see that nationwide race? There's a kid that's coming to the front. Kyle Larson, another young man that's coming up through. The kids today are just phenomenal talent. They've got great equipment. And the equipment side is what, I mean, I did it all. I raced, yes, I drove, built cars. I think my favorite thing was building the cars. Doing the setups, helping other people with setups. I think we were one of the first people to actually build a weight jack out of using a torque wrench and a 10-to-1 ratio bar to know what each corner of the car weighed. Usually we just threw some springs in it and went out on the track, and maybe it went around and maybe it didn't. But we kind of figured out a system that would work, and I ran into, built a car for Hal O'Neill from Andover, New Brunswick. And Hal's been running pro late models since then, but I was up at Spud, I think 82, 83. Ran into Hal, he says, you know what? He says, remember that car you built for me? Yeah, I'm still racing it. You know what else? Well, it's still got the same springs in it. So he was a big fan, but that was the fun part, is building a quality, safe piece of equipment. There was a lot of stuff that was questionable back then. We did what we had to do, water pipe cages, and we started bringing in, I was buying cages from Canadian Stock Car Products, and I found out that if I bought 10 cages, I got one for free. So I went around peddling roll cages and roll cage kits, and so a lot of people had those CSC cages in their cars, so we built some good, safe cars. And became friends with one of the track owners, Barry Tebow, a great mentor, great friend. Barry and Mary Lou became good friends with me. Bob Knowles, Ray Jean, I think they saw the passion I had to travel, sleep in a tent in the parking lot at Unity in the rain, and pack up again, go to Bangor, get rained out, go back to Caribou, and do it all over again the next week. I think racers are some of the biggest optimists in the world when you have that passion for what you do. But along the way, it made great friends. Been fortunate, been very lucky. And my motto today, I get up in front of groups of people, students in high school classes, and I tell them, guys, you can do or be anything you want to be. You just have to think you can. And that's it. And I tell them, I'm paying it forward. Whitaker at Mars Hill in FFA helped me go to college. I got a degree, and was able to do a lot of great things. And that's how I afforded to go racing. Racing was a good motivator, because we found out that speed costs money. They say, how fast do you want to go? So it's all cubic dollars. So I kept going for better jobs and more money to be able to afford to have better race cars. But been told to keep it short. I mean, I like to talk, but again, I'm very honored to be here, and thank you very much.
Welcome to Mainely Motorsports.
To order copies of a show, send a check or money order for $15, shipping and handling included, to Mainely Motorsports, 326 Roosevelt Trail, Windham, Maine, 04062. And please add a description of the show.
Hi, I'm Johnny Wolf.
And I'm Dan Wolf. We've been selling and servicing vehicles on Route 25 in Gorham since 1972.
Wolf Auto Service offers state inspections, tires, brakes, and suspension.
21st Century Motors has a great selection of cars and trucks starting at $29.99.
With no mortgage and low overhead, we sell and service at guaranteed lowest prices.
We're just 6 miles west of Turnpike, exit 47 on Route 25 in Gorham. Online at 21stCenturyMaine.com.
Patman's Redemption and Agency Liquor Store is located at 95 Tanberg Trail in Windham, Maine. With over 400 feet of hard liquor and 15 doors of ice-cold beer and soda, Patman's can handle all of your beverage needs. And if it's wine on your agenda, we have over 300 varieties in stock. Then when the party's over, Patman's can handle all of your Maine returnables, and we welcome all bottle drives. And if you're late for the race, drop off the bottles and pick up the cash at your convenience.
Hey, this is Pat Man himself, just letting you know that Pat Man's is your one-stop shop for all your thirsty needs.
Welcome back to Mainly Motorsports. I want to welcome guest co-host, which you're turning more and more past the guest standpoint.
We're going to have to talk about that contract.
Yeah. Do you think this is a paying gig?
Well, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll treat you to some pie some week up at Portland Pie. All right.
They have really good pie up there.
Yeah, love pie. So, but. Geez, we're going to touch more on it at the end of the week, but it just seems like we've been going to wakes and funerals lately, huh?
Yeah, you know, the last few years, it just seems like there's been so many of the racing family and friends and stuff, and maybe it's just a sign of us getting older.
Speak for yourself.
And then here lately, it's just been stupid. You know, I mean.
And I want to make a comment, and this sounds stupid, but I've known to say stupid things. And I don't like going to wakes. I don't. But you know what wakes do? It puts you in touch with people that you haven't seen in a while.
It does.
I mean, that's, you know, I hadn't seen Rick Shepard. You know, we're eating hot dogs together. So, you know, another guy that helped on my cars 15 years ago, and I was at a wake, you know, this past week, and spent 10 or 15 minutes talking to him, reminiscing, how's the family and everything, was Skip Butler. I mean, he raced at Beechridge in the Wildcats, moved up to the Sports Series, and, you know, I lost touch with him, you know, and he hasn't gone anywhere, and I haven't gone anywhere. You're not doing the same thing. So that's one of the things that I find when you travel to these wakes or funerals.
It brings everybody together. It's not under the best circumstances, but you raise a good point. I know we're going to talk more on it later, but, you know, most recently, you know, attending Charlie Russell's wake, people I hadn't seen in years, you know, like, excuse me, Al Brissett, you know, people you just don't run into anymore. And,
yeah.
You know, it's too bad that you know, something like that has to happen that brings everybody together, but man, it's just been awful. I was hoping we could all make it through a winter without having to go through all of that, but then it seems like this winter there's been, what, 6 or 8?
Yeah, no, exactly,
you know,
exactly.
It's been crazy.
You know, and then when you talk about that, and that's why when you go to these Hall of Fame banquets that's coming up, you know, every year they lose a couple. They just lost a couple of Hall of Fame members over the last month or so, and you know, and I think that's what makes those events so important, because you know, you get to see people that you know, as we all get up in age, you know, and but you attended your first banquet last year. You know, you heard Bob Alexander talk about how excited he was to be, you know, nominated and inducted, and you know, what was your take on that banquet? You know, being there for the first time.
Yeah, I was very, very impressed. I was impressed with the way it was run. I was impressed with the turnout, and if you value the history of racing at all, I strongly suggest that you get to those, because it becomes real apparent when you talk with people beforehand and after the ceremony, and then you watch the speeches of the people being inducted. It truly means the world to those people, and it's just, I was so impressed with not only the amount of people in attendance, but who was in attendance. You know, it's like a who's who of racing, and not just people being inducted in the Hall of Fame, but a lot of younger people. A lot of younger people are starting to get into things like that, and the Maine Vintage Race Car Association, and I think that bodes really well for us. And
yeah.
I was totally impressed with the whole thing. I won't miss one going forward. This year, you know, I mean, I grew up around Beechridge, as everybody knows, and Oxford, and this year, you know, Dick Berggren, Mike Johnson, Sandy McKinnon. I'm familiar with those guys, but I like learning about the other people that maybe I didn't get a chance to see, like a Bob Alexander and these other guys. So it's...
And it is quite an honor, and like I said to him, to me, that's the ultimate honor, you know, in your career. And, you know, once you've done on the track, you know, it's your accomplishments that you did on the track and some of the stuff off the track being recognized, and to me, it's the ultimate honor.
Yeah, racing can
Hall of Fame.
Racing can be rewarding. You're not going to get rich off it, but if you make it to the Hall of Fame, you did a lot of things right along the way, and it's just a tremendous honor. And everybody is always that's made it in there is so deserving, and there are so many more that are going to be coming up, and it's just a great thing. It's great to see it growing and expanding, and see nothing but good things ahead.
Yeah, and it's coming right up, so I know they put a deadline on when you can get your tickets, but I still think there's an opportunity to get tickets. So, and that's me, because I'm a last-minute guy. So,
well, I think the deadline for tickets is
gone.
Gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But don't pay attention to deadlines.
But I bet you can still
They just
get
put
them.
deadlines out there for the people that are, what do they call it, anal retentive? That
procrastinators.
Well, no, the people that want to know when. So they want to do it right, and then you have guys like me that just say, "Oh, by the way, I'm coming. You got a seat for me?" So.
Or people like me who never know their schedule until the last minute.
Yeah, I know it, huh? But you know, I traveled a couple weeks ago over to Nashua, New Hampshire. Chris Lockwood, the marketing director from New Hampshire Motor Speedway, was putting on what he called a short track summit, and invited every short track owner and promoter throughout New England, New York, you know, to be in attendance. To talk about a program that he wants to put in place for 2015, but also talk about the tracks and how they could all work together and try to promote short track racing. You know, obviously he's in the business to try to sell seats, just like Andy Cusack is, Tom Mayberry, the Jordans, Del Merritt, you know, every track owner in the state, and as well as New England. And it was pretty neat to hear his program and how he wants to work together with the tracks to try to put people in his seats as well as your seats. But then, you know, the coolest thing after was when everybody broke up after, you know, and they fed us a spread, which was worth going just for the spread.
Shocked.
But when they all broke up into their own little groups, and it wasn't designed, it wasn't okay, we got Speedway 95 and ACT and, you know, somebody from Airborne over here. I mean, everybody started mingling, and that was a pretty neat thing to see. And, you know, so I want to show what Chris had to say about his program, and you want to check with your local tracks and see if they're going to be involved in it, because, you know, we're all in this together.
Yeah, it's good to see the everybody working together there, and I think that, you know, some really good things from what I've heard could come of this. And whenever you have the racing community working together, it's always going to be to the beneficial of the race fan.
Yep. And we're seeing that with Act and Pass.
Yeah, I mean,
you know?
I mean, you mentioned that Act and Pass. The event I'm looking forward to most this season is the Memorial Day weekend show at Thunder Road with Pass and Act. I mean, I've been to all the Oxford 250s and stuff, but the fact that has come together and they're putting on some of the events that they are is kind of inspired me a little bit. And I've been around a long time as a race fan, so I can imagine a lot of other people are feeling the same way. So a lot of good things coming in the years to come, I believe.
Yeah, they are. But we're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to show you what Chris Lockwood had to say about his plan, what he's trying to do to get you to come down to New Hampshire on Sunday, and how he's going to work with the short tracks throughout New England to help them put people in their seats.
I did not grow up in the car business. I started as a technician in a small garage, and now lucky enough to own my own dealership. I think buying a new car should be hassle-free with pricing up front. We like to negotiate with everyone the same way. Our goal is for our customers to feel good and make it easy and quick if they so desire. We pay our sales staff to help satisfy your needs, not to collect a traditional commission.
Southern Maine Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Maine's only Viper dealer, Route 1, Saco.
Award season event is going on now.
You don't have to wait until the end of camping season to get your best price. Hi, I'm Scott from Scotch Recreation. We're starting our end of season sale now. This is our biggest selection ever. Fifth wheels with savings up to $20,000. Big selection of toy haulers starting at only $19,999. 2015 Trail Runner bunkhouses with super slides and island kitchens for only $199 per month. Motorhomes, truck campers, and more. Financing available. Trades welcome.
Scott's Recreation, Turner and Manchester, Maine.
For a trusted name in residential and commercial site work in the Southern Maine area, call Peter Pettit Excavating. We can handle everything from the complete house lot to those nasty water and sewer line repairs. Septic systems are another area that we specialize in. During the snow season, Pettit Excavating has the equipment to handle any size job.
And when the race season arrives, be sure to follow the number 7 Hewitt's Family Restaurant Chevrolet on the Pass Super Late Model Tour.
Call 207-282-9305 to get the job done right. That's Peter Pettit Excavating.
Mainly Motorsports TV, brought to you by
Clark's Car Crushing, providing guaranteed honest weights with top dollar being paid.
Thank you everyone for coming. My name is Chris Lockwood. I'm the Director of Marketing at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. And from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate the fact that we were able to get so many tracks from all over New England to come here today. And really today is all about working together and trying to help each other out and fill the stands. That's the bottom line. Just to give you a little background on myself. Last year was my first year at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and what I've gotten from a lot of people is, hey, I haven't seen you before, you know, what's your background? Are you a racing guy? And I'll be the first to tell you I'm not. I wasn't a racing guy. My family has been involved with racing for a long time. My father worked at Briar Motorsports Park back in the 70s. He did everything from flipping burgers to selling tickets to, you know, whatever needed to be done. And then when Bob Baer built the track in Loudon, he hired my sister to be in their communications department. And they would come home every night and they would talk about NASCAR. And I was a basketball and a soccer guy. And it would drive me crazy. I'm like, it's not a sport. They just go around in circles. Why do you keep talking about this? I just didn't get it, and I wasn't open-minded to it. I went off to college. I have a kind of an eclectic background. I worked for a Catholic liberal arts college. Then I got in the concert business. I worked for Spooky World. Then I ended up at the Palace Theater in Manchester. So I knew all about nuns and rock stars and zombies and theater. And Jerry Gappins called me and said, hey, you know, I've watched your career and you seem to be able to fill seats, and I've got a lot of seats. I wonder if you want to come over and have a talk. And the first thing I said to him was, look, Jerry, I don't know anything about NASCAR. And he assured me, you know what, it's not that complicated. You're a smart guy. I can get you up to speed if you think you want to jump in and try this. And I said, yeah, let's go for it. So I was hired in April. Our first race is in July, and basically I had an agency who said, you know, this is what we're going to do, this is how you're going to fill those seats, you know, this is what's important, this is what's not important, and I basically just had to go with it, you know, just rely on other people's judgment. And we get through the July race, and I wasn't terribly happy with the way the stands looked, and I figured, you know what, I need to figure this out for myself. And I was fortunate enough to go up to Beach Ridge. That was the first track that I went to. And I said to Jerry, I'm like, I don't recognize any of these shirts that are coming through. I don't see any, you know, Logano shirts. I don't see any Danica Patrick shirts. You know, what is this, like 35 VT? Who are these people who are wearing all these T-shirts? And he's like, oh, that's the ACT Tour. You know, they're really passionate about it. And then I got another taste. I went over to Lee Speedway, and they had all this programming for kids, and I was like, man, why don't we have any of this stuff? We talk about being family friendly, and I just don't think we have any of that sort of stuff. So I went out on the road a lot. I went to a lot of events. I went to a bunch of different short tracks and everything, and I became convinced that short tracks are where we needed to be, that needed to be partners with, because for a couple of reasons. I didn't have to convince anyone who was in the stands there that racing is cool and that it's a family-friendly event and it's a good time to bring your family to. So throughout the year, I started thinking and learning a lot from the different short tracks that we went to. You know, one of the things that would always happen, it was almost always in the same order too. If we brought our show car there, I'd go up to someone and say, hey, do you have your Sprint Cup tickets yet? And almost always the first words out of their mouth are, the Modifieds put on the best show there, or ACT Tour is the most exciting racing. I'm not concerned with Sunday. And at first, you know, I was kind of humbled by that and hurt, you know, because I want to sell Sunday tickets. I want to sell Saturday tickets too, but Sunday is supposedly the big race, right? And then later on in the evening, usually someone from the track would come over and be like, you know, there's something different this year. When you and Jess come to the track and Jeff, you know, you guys are really friendly. You're really outgoing. You're nice to our people, and you're not so concerned about, I need to sell tickets tonight to make this worthwhile. It's more being part of the experience. And so that got me thinking, what can we do together so that I'm not just asking you guys, hey, what can you do to sell me tickets? It's about what we can do together. So I listened to some very wise people. So I've talked with Dick Bergen and Ken Squire and a bunch of you, and I came up with an idea to come up with a passport program. And it's certainly not original. It's not my idea. I'm actually stealing it from Bike Week up in Laconia. They do this, and basically they reward you for going around to a bunch of different places. And that's what I think that could work out for all of us. So I'll hand this around. And here's what I'm thinking for my concept. Basically, I want to reward hardcore fans. And I've picked a number of going to 5 races. Now that could mean going to one track 5 times. It could mean going to 5 different tracks one time. As long as you're invested, I think if you make the commitment 5 weeks out of the year to go to a short track and bring your family. Like, you're a pretty solid fan. You should be rewarded for that and your loyalty. So what I want to do is, I understand that, you know, the Saturday ticket might be an easier sell for people. That's fine. I need to sell Saturday tickets too. So if you go to support the short tracks for 5 times, I want to offer you a 20% discount on my Saturday races. Now, I need to sell my Sunday tickets too. So if you go to short tracks for 5 times and come and you buy a Sunday ticket, you know, that's an expensive ticket. And when I certainly want them to be able to go back to your tracks and not feel like they've spent their money and they have to skip a couple of weeks. So I'm offering to pay to have someone go back to your track. And I'm hoping that we can work out a deal on a discount ticket. So that way, you know, I'm hoping to demonstrate that I want people in your stands, and I'm hoping that people can come to our stands. And overall, the bottom line is, I'm hoping to make it affordable enough that people can do both things.
Hi, I'm Johnny Wolf.
And I'm Dan Wolf. We've been selling and servicing vehicles on Route 25 in Gorham since 1972.
Wolf Auto Service offers state inspections, tires, brakes, and suspension.
21st Century Motors has a great selection of cars and trucks starting at $29.99.
With no mortgage and low overhead, we sell and service at guaranteed lowest prices.
We're just 6 miles west of Turnpike, exit 47 on Route 25 in Gorham. Online at 21stcenturymaine.com.
We've got the car you've been looking for at OT Motor Sales. Shop online at otmotorsales.com.
So I'm willing to incur the cost of printing up these passports and giving them to you to hand out. You know, I've heard from most of you who've said, you know who your hardcore people are. You know when there's a new face that shows up your track. You know, you're that familiar with your audience. So hand these out to your loyal people. Give them a stamp every time that they come through. I'll help you out with signage at your track. And one thing about that, I learned from my first trip to Beach Ridge. You know, we all have billboards, right? And people have said, oh, well, you know, we could do a billboard at the track. And I'm the kind of guy who looks and says, not at where the signs are, but looks and says, there should be a sign right there. And at Beach Ridge, I go into your turn 4, everyone's drinking beer, and you've got a great tradition there, right? Everyone flips the cup to try to land on the fence, and if it lands, then you have to buy a beer. And I'm looking at this blank canvas right here, I'm like, my God, people are looking at this, you know, through the whole race. I wish it just said, you know, I had my website right there. So that's what I'm talking about when it comes to signage. You know, I don't want to take away from your inventory where you can sell a billboard, but if there's places that people look. When I was down in Daytona, they had a panel of women and talking about the women's perspective and what they look at in the short tracks. And the first thing that they said was, you know, the bathrooms are key. And I was like, oh my God, they are, because that's a captive audience. You know, signage in the bathrooms. You know, what else are you doing? You're looking. You know, why not have messaging right there to talk about the passport program? Also, you know, we're hoping to get on your website, on your social pages, PA announcements, and you guys will handle, you know, distributing these at your individual track. My thought process is people show up at your track, they get their stamps. When it's time for them to buy tickets, our research has showed that most of our crowd on Saturdays is a walk-up crowd. So they'll bring the passport to us, they'll buy their tickets, and we'll give them a voucher. And this voucher will be good to go back to any of your track. So you'll collect these vouchers, you'll give them admission when they come back to your track, and then at the end of the season, you can send that to us, we'll total them up, and we'll cut you a check. So, before we go on to the 25th anniversary, I'd like to open it up. Does anyone have any thoughts, any questions about the Passport program? Is this crazy? Is this the best idea ever? Somewhere in between? Good. Any questions about how it works or any concerns? And we're going to be here for a while. We're going to have lunch after, and you can come up to me individually and talk about that as well. But is there anyone who thinks that this is absolutely not going to work? Excellent. All right. So moving forward, this year is our 25th anniversary, and we're very excited about it. And I think it gives us a lot of opportunity to reach out to all of you and give you some resources that you haven't had before to help promote your tracks. You know, I was up at a show up in Augusta, and I was quickly reminded, while it is our 25th anniversary, Briar Motorsports Park was there, you know, for a lot longer time, and a lot of you have been around a lot longer than us. And I went back to our crew and I was like, you know, I think it would be a shame if we did not include all of the New England short tracks who have been around producing great racing and great fans for a lot longer than us, did not have them somehow involved in our 25th anniversary. So I know one of the things that I've talked about is inviting you to come and be a part of it. And so on Saturday, we've got a whole building in the infield dedicated, you know, for you guys to come and hang out. We'll get you passes where you can, you know, watch the race from wherever, but, you know, typically in the infield, you can come and go and do what you want. So we're going to offer up 4 of those to each of the tracks. And basically, you can do whatever you want with that, whoever you want those 4 people to be. If you want to use it for yourself, if you want to reward an employee, if you want to reward a champion driver, if you want to do a contest with it and reward, you know, one of your fans. It's totally up to you to use how you see fit, but, you know, we want to extend that invitation to you to come and join us. One of the things that, one of the ideas I got from Devil's Bowl brought this up to me, and they said, you know, if we could do some cross-promotional stuff on social media, that would help us out, you know, and it helps us out as well. So anything like that we're open to. I know we did work with some of you around the Daytona 500, and we heard some good results with that, but that's certainly an option that we're willing to entertain. And I'm going to bring up, Kayla's going to talk about our pace cars and display in a little bit, but I will be back in a few minutes to talk a little more, and now I'll bring up Kayla.
Today's vehicles are equipped with complex safety features such as anti-lock brakes, seatbelt restraints, and airbag systems, even collision avoidance systems. Not available in all models. Hi, I'm Sean Moody from Moody's Collision Centers. We don't wish bad luck on anyone, but even with today's technology, we need to keep our eyes on the road and our hands on the wheel.
Moody's Collision Centers, now with 9 locations in Maine.
I did not grow up in the car business. I started as a technician in a small garage, and now lucky enough to own my own dealership. I think buying a new car should be hassle-free with pricing up front. We like to negotiate with everyone the same way. Our goal is for our customers to feel good and make it easy and quick if they so desire. We pay our sales staff to help satisfy your needs, not to collect a traditional commission.
Southern Maine Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Maine's only Viper dealer, Route 1, Saco.
Award season event is going on now.
Mainly Motorsports TV, brought to you by
Scotch Recreation. Whether you're thinking about your first camper or looking to upgrade your current one, Scotch Recreation can help you. Get both our Route 202 Manchester and our Route 4 Turner locations and online at scotchrecreation.com.
LKQ Core. Any part, any repair, anywhere. Located on Route 202 in Gorham.
Well, back here with Dan Walker, and getting back behind the wheel this year, right? You got the whole race team, Full Throttle Motorsports, right?
Yes, Full Throttle Motorsports, Beetlebugs, Thursday Thunder at Beechridge. I'm squeezing back in the car. 2 JV cars and 3 varsity cars.
Really?
Doing our best to support the car count, and I know some other people, you know, like Stone Racing, I think they're going to have 3 cars this year, and I know Ben Crowder's running his car in JV and varsity, so again, everybody trying to do their thing to
get the
support
car counts
things.
up, and you know, and it's pretty affordable racing. I mean, right from getting into the pits to your weekly costs and maintenance, providing you don't get all torn up. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, obviously Jeff had a tremendous wreck last year at Oxford. I mean, basically come home, save what, the seat and the steering wheel, throw the rest away.
Yeah, pretty much that was it. That was pretty nasty, pretty scary wreck he had at Oxford. Came back and didn't waste any time. Found another car, got it built, had it ready for past weekend. First time out with the car, won the heat race, but had a leak, oil leak, so didn't run it in the feature. Would have started on the pole, but yeah, he's gone through the new car this winter. My car's pretty much intact from last year, so we haven't really put mine in the shop yet. It doesn't really need much. Rusty Poland ran it at Oxford, the last race up there last year. Started, I think, next to the last and finished 7th or 8th. The 2 new cars, Derek McKean and Justin McKean, they built new cars, and Derek's car is pretty much ready for paint. He's going to be back in JV this year. He drove my car last year, did really well with it for first time out.
Yeah.
Expecting good things from him, and Justin bought the old 48 Beetlebug, and they get that all race ready, so he's going to give his hand at it this year. So those 2 will be competing against each other in the junior varsity, and I'll graduate to the varsity division and get to race with Jeff and
that's pretty
the
neat.
Stones, and we'll see what happens. I tell everybody I'm driving the R&D car.
The R&D car.
You know, so
who's the 5th driver?
We still have the 77 car. I'm not sure yet if Ray Phillips is gonna do another year,
I'll sponsor it if you put my driver in.
or what. But I guess somehow that car is still around, and something's gonna happen with it. Maybe it's a car for lease. I don't know.
Maybe change the second 7 to a 4.
No.
I'll sponsor it.
Why?
I think it'd be a great opportunity for Carrie Thibodeau.
Yeah.
It'd be like she'd be like the experienced driver in the team, and
right. I'm just gonna leave that alone.
Put Carrie out there?
Oh, it's not my car.
She comes with a sponsor. Oh, it's not your car. Okay,
what's the sponsor?
Me? I don't know.
You'd sponsor her.
Yeah.
So if she got that ride, you would be the sponsor.
As long as it don't cost me a lot, you know.
I'm not sure it would cost you anything.
Why?
Because I think she would just race, and you'd work out the details later.
Yeah. No details. No, but I think it is neat though that the Thursday Thunder, they have so many different opportunities. You know, I mean, you guys with the JVs, and then you could actually take one of those cars, because you mentioned Ben Crowder is going to do it. He'll have a driver in his JV and a driver in his varsity, right?
Yeah.
You guys don't do that. You do. The car is.
Yeah, and what we're gonna do is I'm racing every week this year, but I'm not really gonna concern myself with the points. So if one of the JV cars, Derek or Justin, if they have a problem or practice or something, they can't run their car, one of them can jump in my car. If Jeff has a problem and can't run his car, he can run my car, because I'm not going to worry about points and championships and any of that stuff. I'm going to go have fun.
Can I tell you something?
And race, but I'll have a backup car.
Can I tell you something? If you're really not going to worry about anything,
sure.
Make sure you stay home like the first 2 weeks.
No. I said.
No. Make sure you.
Like I said, I'm going to race every week, but I'm not going to get caught up.
Oh no! Everybody gets caught up in points. Everybody gets caught up in points.
Okay. Well, okay. So, anyways, I'll be there every week.
Okay, and chasing points.
But
chasing that second championship.
Okay, if you want to put it that way, yes. If Jeff would have a problem in practice, he would jump in my car. That would be the end of it.
Jeff's sitting 6th in points, and we're going to give your car up for Jeff.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
No, seriously.
Okay. I believe you. And then you'll be mad at yourself.
First of all, I won't be second in points because I'm running varsity and my car's not used to hauling this around.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Well, why don't you?
We'll go out and we'll have some fun and do the best we can. Yeah, a gym.
No, push up.
A push-up?
No, push up away from the dinner table a little bit sooner. Right? That will help that.
Yeah. You know, not buying any new forks and stuff.
So no, that is pretty good of you to, you know, be that guy that's willing to sacrifice for yourself for the good of others.
I've had fun, and I'm only doing it for the fun now. You know, Justin and Derek, you know, be some good concentration on them and the JV, and you know, Tom McKean, Sue's brother, he oversees everything. I don't know, he's working on 3 cars, but he likes it. I mean, he's getting everything done for everybody, and I haven't been around as much as I should be because time, you know, between the regular job and the Civic Center, and you know, I haven't been around to help as much, but they've made great progress on the cars, and it's going to be fun. You know, we need a transporter. I mean, that's what we need.
To haul them all there?
Jeez.
Are you going to start in the morning, drop one off, keep going back, and going back?
Yeah, we just hired a new transport driver to spend the day just hauling cars to the racetrack on Thursdays.
No way.
Well, I had to.
Really? Jeez. Yeah, no, I've seen Louis do that for years. Drop one off, go back, and get it out. Can't you just leave it there and use Andy's shop?
Well, there was one year I left my car there, and I parked it out back, and we had a huge spring flood. I've got pictures of me wading in knee-deep water to my car because the water came up, so, you know, the pond out back came up to the backyard of the racetrack. I had to fish the car out. So I started leaving it up on the hill where the records park over by the gas pumps, but not an ideal situation, but
no,
we'll do what we have to do.
But you got to be excited, and you know, the nice part is when I look at that is, you know, you're going to have 2 cars in every class, maybe 3 in the varsity or JV, depending on who drives the other car, and just that many more opportunities for hardware and a check.
Yeah. Well, you know, Thursday Thunder actually doesn't pay that bad. You know, if you curb your spending, you know, and just go with what you need, like we run just regular pump fuel, but I see guys down buying the racing fuel at $10 a gallon, and my opinion, it's a waste of money. But
no, exactly. You know, but you know, it's all in how you want to spend your money.
Yeah, but you, first place is $200.
Really?
Yeah. So
those years when those guys win 6-8 races,
I think they're doing pretty well.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, everything's inexpensive. It's once you get the car built, maintaining it, you know, a couple sets of tires, some wheels, change the oil, fuel her up.
Well, it's got to be because Dan Hendrick here, they got 5 of them. Even NASCAR don't allow you to have 5 teams.
You know, sometimes I look back and I think, how did that really happen? I mean, it used to be, it started out as Jeff, then he got a hold of a second car and asked me if I wanted to play around, and then Sue's nephew Derek wanted to get into it, so you know we got him into it, and now Justin, and you know it just keeps evolving.
A few years down the road, Leela, she'll want to be trying it, right?
Oh, probably will be Leela and Ethan, and Lindsay mentions it once in a while too. My daughter, but
get them all, yeah.
We got to get her driving on the road first.
No, get out there first. Let her learn on the track first.
Yeah,
then, right.
You know, I was thinking you mentioned about getting Carrie in one of the cars, but I don't think they allow passengers, so she wouldn't have anybody to talk to while she's racing. So that wouldn't work.
We could put a dummy in this.
Because you know this can't stop long enough to do this.
Oh, no, so, Carrie can.
Well, I'd like to see it first.
She'd be good for Thursday Thunder. But remember, Thursday she has a hard time getting there on time.
She has a hard time getting anywhere on time. Don't let that fool you.
Carrie, this is him. I'm sticking up for you. This is all
Well, I mean, she's a Kurt Busch fan, so that tells you all you need to know.
Yeah, I know. Last week, all the post, blah, 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 blah. But anyway, we're going to take a break. We come back. We'll wrap up this week's show with, I'm going to not call you guest anymore, Dan Walker.
Get the right car at the right price. OTMotorsales.com.
Not sure what brand tire to buy? Town Fair Tire has them all. Michelin, Goodyear, Firestone, Bridgestone, Pirelli, Toyo, Yokohama, Hankook, and more. No matter what size or brand, Town Fair Tire beats all the competition, even online prices. We'll also do a free front wheel alignment with any tire purchase. Name brand tires, the lowest prices, free alignment. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody.
Name brand.
Discount prices, Town Fair Tire.
About taking your time. It's making me nervous, yeah.
Well, as we wrap up this week's edition of Mainly Motorsports, I don't care. Beechridge isn't going to be the same without seeing that wrecker, the ramp truck, and Charlie Tuna. It's just not going to be the same.
Yeah, Charlie was one of those unique individuals around the racetrack. He's been around many, many, many years. He has had so many drivers drive his race cars, whether it was a Wildcat, Limited
Kids,
Sportsman, Sports
grandkids.
Series, Whiz Kid, Pro Stock. I don't know anybody that ever really had a bad word to say about Charlie.
Oh, and that was
Russell,
funny when I
you know?
posted on my Facebook thing about it, and that was my whole theory about it. Is everybody, all good things to say about Charlie, and just so sad. And I didn't even know his age. I mean, because he didn't even come across as that 69, and I don't know what 69 is supposed to be. You know what I mean? But he was just so helpful, and I'll never forget, and always wanted to help anybody. And I'll never forget last year. I think it was past 400. Louis was wanting to run, and somebody was supposed to buy him some tires, and that person backed out.
Yeah.
And he was standing there, and when he found out, and Charlie was standing there, and he said, "Lou, let's go get some tires. I'll help you out." I'm like, that was him. You know what I mean? He was that guy willing. And so now you reflect on, the championships that Donnie Morse was able to give him and Diane.
Yeah.
I mean, now it even takes a big, because a guy like that's been in the sport so long and given back to so many, you want to see him rewarded at the ultimate. So really, I was reflecting on that as I was leaving the wake, that they got to experience the ultimate, as car owner champions, with Donnie Morse.
I mean, Charlie, he didn't have a lot of financial backing for his own operation, but like you said, he would always help everybody else. And it was, thinking back, it means so much now, I'm sure, when he got to go on stage as a championship car owner.
Show up with a tuxedo, get his picture taken.
The top of the sport. And there's so many Charlie Roussel stories out there. I mean, I remember one time when I ran his Wildcat car and I finished 5th after starting last, and he asked me how come I didn't pass the guy in front of me. I just kind of rode the last couple laps, and I didn't think anything of it, and he handed me his glasses. Like maybe you needed these or something. Just a jokester like that.
He was a lot of fun.
We used to joke about his race car having a prescription windshield and stuff, and just a great guy. Always had a good smile on his face and knew how the racing game was supposed to be. I remember a couple years ago when Donnie Morse and Frankie Ware had a little on-track skirmish, and I was talking with Charlie afterwards. I said, what do you make of all that? And he's like, that's for the drivers to figure out. None of my business.
Yeah,
and that's the way.
He
that's just the
understood
way
it.
He was.
And it's just like I said. It's just not going to be the same. When you never know he's going to come around a corner or join in on a conversation or where you're going to see him. And then during the week, I mean, with his ramp truck, you never know where you're going to see him. You're in a parts store and there's Charlie. You're at a restaurant and there's Charlie. And,
well, you see him coming and you move over a little bit.
Yeah, you don't know where he's going. If he sees you. So. From all of us at Mainly Motorsports, thoughts and prayers and everything out to Diane and the entire family. And we dedicate this week's episode of Mainly Motorsports to Charlie Roussel, one of the good guys.